It's WST Sunday Live, hosted by Hrabchak, Lyss Houde, and Jacob Stoller.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live, a game day edition, as the Winnipeg Jets take on the Buffalo Sabres today at Canada Life Center at 2 p.m. My name's Hrabchak. I'm joined today by Lyss Houde. Unfortunately, Jacob was unable to make it this morning. As always, you can check his workout at sportsnet.ca after today's game. But we have Lyss, and we're ready to go today. Lyss, how are you doing on a game day edition, potentially playoff clinching game day edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Sunday Live?
I'm doing well. It's been a couple weeks in a row of game day editions of WST Sunday Live, and it's been an interesting kind of schedule for the Jets, couple different things in and out, and certain things affect us more than they probably affect other people. And when we know we have to talk about things on the Sunday, we get a little bit more hyper focused. But the Winnipeg Jets haven't played since Thursday, so I think today we might spend a little bit more time talking about the preview matchup as opposed to, you know, when they play a back-to-back on the Saturday night or the Friday night or whatever, and we have so much to say about those particular games. We sometimes don't even cover the game that's happening on that game day. But it's been 2 days off, but two Manitoba Moose game days right in the middle there. So that was pretty sweet for someone like myself who is so locked in. So it's good. I'm really happy that there's a game today. I will be there in the seats, in the stands today. So Very much looking forward to that. I'm going with my uncle. He's in town, so we're going to have a good time.
Nice. I will say, like, it's so different. The one game I went to this year.
Don't ask me for any thoughts afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. The one game I went to in the seats this year was the Dylan DeMello goal against the Kraken in his 600th game, where they won with 30 seconds left. And it was the WST ticket night. And you're just talking to so many people. You're having conversations in your seats. I was so lost. And we were doing the show the next day. And I was like, thank goodness it came down to like one goal. It came down to like one play, 30 seconds left, because we were halfway through the third. It was 1-1 game. And I was like, I got nothing. I don't know what's really going on in this game. I know the Jets are like controlling play for the most part, but it's such a different experience being in the press box versus being in the seats. So looking forward to hearing from you on that. A lot of people, let's just put that out there. I believe the Jets can clinch today with a win. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yesterday it was like if St. Louis loses. So I'm just assuming that if the Jets get the 2 points in this scenario, they'd also clinch.
It provides the same differential, so you'd think so. Yeah, I think it makes sense. But like either way, it's a marginal space right now. Like the clinching scenario is very much upon us. We are in that time. We are looking at those NHL PR tweets and seeing who needs to lose a point in regulation or whatever you want to talk about. That's where we're at right now, which is where you want to be getting close to the end of March. That's for sure.
Exactly. And look, the Jets have clinched. All right. They have 100 points. Like they've, for all intents and purposes, they have clinched. And it's just a matter of seeding. And this game today against the Buffalo Sabres, which we'll get into later, is the exact type of game that, you don't want to take lightly. You don't want it to be a trap game, because then Dallas is right on your tail. And if you lose a home game to the Buffalo Sabres, that's when you're going to look at the end of the season and say, well, if you were unable to win that one and you maybe miss out by 1 point in the 1 seed, that is a big problem. But we're not going to talk about that game right off the top. We're actually going to go back to Thursday, where the Jets defeated the Edmonton Oilers 4-3 in overtime. Kyle Connor with his 37th of the year. Pretty nice shot in OT. Shout out to everyone who showed up to our BP watch party on Thursday night at BP Garden City. It was an awesome time. Great turnout. A lot of the usual WSTers who are always there made the trip out, even if it wasn't close for them, even if it was closer for them all the way out in Garden City. So that was a great time. Lyss, what were your initial thoughts of that win in overtime? It felt like a really weird game. Really weird game.
One of the games of all time, that's for sure. That was a game that, sometimes you watch a hockey game, and when you're watching for one team in particular, you're like, holy smokes, is there something at play here with winning this game that they just don't want to win? Because it was like, there were some moments where they looked good and it was fine, but when the big things happened, the big moments came out, those big power plays and all those sorts of things, nothing. There was nothing in the tank, and it was, all in all, not a good performance from the Winnipeg Jets. I'm not going to, this has been a year where we've had a lot of really good performances, and we know what the bar is, what the standard is for this team. That was not one of them. That was 2 games back-to-back that week, the Tuesday and the Thursday, where the Winnipeg Jets did not play a good hockey game. So very nice to come out with the 2 points in that one. nothing but good things to say about that overtime winning goal. That was really well done. And that's what, good players can do. And that's what you want good players to do in those particular moments. But other than that, I don't know, man. That was not my favorite game I've watched this club play this year. That's for sure. Especially, knowing that Leon Draisaitl, in my opinion, Hart winner in the entire NHL, right? Like absolute stud of a player, having a beast season, not playing in the game. You know that going in, lose the best player in the world partway through the game. Jeff Skinner, the only guy scoring goals on you. You got to find a way to win that game. And they did. So you know what? I give flowers where they're due, but woof.
Yeah. And look, when Connor McDavid didn't start the third period, I said to Remus, this just became like a game that you just can't lose in the standings.
And the
okay, I'm not going to say
Cal Pickard thing too. Sorry, that was the other one.
Yeah.
Like switching goalies, oh my God.
The Jets, if you told me they were going into the third period even with a team that was going to need to throw their backup in cold with 5 minutes left and would lose their best player, all on top of losing their already other best player, like 1A, 1B, that's a game
million power plays.
Yeah, I don't care if it's the end of a road trip. I don't, if they played the night before, which they didn't. Coming off of a tough loss, you needed to bounce back there, and they did. But this comment here from Seawalk 1985 says, outside of the Tanev goal, the third period was pretty awful. I have to agree. The third period was probably the Jets' worst. I want to talk about the Brandon Tanev goal for a second, though. His first as a Jet for this tenure. And I wrote it in my next day takeaways piece for Legal Curve. It just felt like the quintessential Brandon Tanev goal. I was laughing out loud watching that goal. He banks it off the post to himself, basically, and he's just standing in the crease, whacking away, eventually gets the goal. And that fourth line, Lyss, has been really good with Morgan Barron down the middle, with Brandon Tanev there. What have you seen? I mean, we have a larger sample now. They got the goal, obviously, at 5-on-5 in the third period, which was a big one. What have you seen maybe since Brandon Tanev was acquired and Morgan Barron then moving into the middle from that fourth line?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that particular goal. My favorite part about it is that sequence that actually scored the goal was the second of the exact same type of sequence in that shift. They were just white on rice. That line was totally in there. It was really, really good, a great shift from them. And we've seen a lot of good shifts from them. Brandon Tanev is a guy that, we talked about this, especially when they got traded. And I think both you and Jacob and myself included, we kind of nailed what our thoughts were on that trade in terms of how that fourth line looks now and the identity that they've kind of compiled, as opposed to, a lot of teams have a fourth line that's a group of ragtag guys who are good enough to be in the lineup, but that's about it kind of thing. And they seem like they have a little bit more of an identity now. And I think that, for lack of better terms, Brandon Tanev matches their freak, right? Alex Iafallo, super good in the paint. This is a guy who's really good at getting in those corners. That forecheck is unbelievable. And Morgan Barron moving to the middle opens up a little bit more space for him to kind of use that frame he's got and everything. And we know that he's a guy who can be pretty aggressive and pretty tenacious down there. So I think it's a great fit for the type of hockey that bottom six wants to play. And I've really liked what I've seen from them so far. And that's a line that, when in terms of off nights and all those sorts of things, they'll have them. They're professional hockey players. They all do. But an off night for someone like Brandon Tanev is going to look a little bit different than it might for someone, we've made some jokes. I'm not going to name any names here, but an off night for Brandon Tanev doesn't look like not bending your knees, right? This is a guy who's still gonna put in a lot of effort. And so I think that's exactly what that group needs. And I really like what I've seen from them.
Name names in trending up, trending down. You got it. That's when the names come out. Yeah.
Sure.
There we go.
It's probably on both of our lists, but
yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see once we get there. Let's go back to the road trip as a whole, because we talked about the Edmonton game, obviously, and that was the most recent one. But the rest of the road trip, they, battle back to beat Seattle in overtime. Then they play against Vancouver in a game that was maybe one of their worst defense rush games of the season. They just got absolutely carved in transition. And then the Edmonton game, I mean, Edmonton was their two best players. It was the sloppiest game that I can remember this team playing in a long time. Has anything really changed for you coming out of this road trip? I mean, I guess we can kind of loop in the power play with this as maybe the biggest concern coming out of the road trip. They're 6 for 37, which is 16% since the Four Nations break, which is now a month ago. Like that's a full month of hockey of the power play being 16%. So where are you at with this team first off the road trip? And then how much of a concern is the power play for you, Lyss?
Yeah, I mean, I think the road trip is kind of like a penultimate. I don't know, like it very much encompasses what I think we've seen from this team since the Four Nations break, which is just, eh?
Yeah.
Not the first place team in the NHL sort of vibes from me lately.
Dallas
That's
game
kind of where I'm at.
Dallas game excluded.
Dallas game
Everything else,
excluded. Yeah.
yeah.
No, and they've played some good hockey because it's impossible for them not to, right? Like this is a
Right.
very, very structurally sound hockey team. This is a very tight-knit hockey team. This is a team that's been playing well and has high expectations for themselves. All those different sorts of things, of course, right? But this is not the same hockey that we saw them playing in December and January of this year. It's really not. Like
Yeah.
I think it's because some of the biggest guys on the team, Josh Morrissey excluded, have been a little bit streakier, a little bit more inconsistent. I'm going to rope Adam Lowry into that conversation as well, right? Guys who just haven't looked 100% themselves and 100% at their full capacity like they were earlier in the season. Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Gabe Vilardi, Connor Hellebuyck, whoever you want to name. And I think that this road trip was another kind of example of that. And, late starts on the road, all those sorts of things. And it looked the part, right? And I don't know how I feel about that. And that's why I know we're not going to talk about previewing today's game yet, but holy smokes, they need to start putting together strings of good games. I don't even care if they're wins at this point. I know the cushion on Dallas is important. Don't get me wrong. I would prefer not today, because a good game against Buffalo, you better not be losing that. But when they play against, someone like LA or something like that later next week, and playing against Washington this week, maybe, like, I would prefer a complete 60-minute effort and getting like goal lead or something like that, just to kind of get them back into the swing of playing some really good hockey over 2 points like we saw on Thursday.
Yeah, I agree. And this homestand coming up, we'll move into the Buffalo game, but this homestand coming up is going to be a big opportunity for that. You get Buffalo today, and then you get the Washington Capitals on Tuesday night, which is a matchup of the top two teams in the league. Maybe to decide the President's Trophy, give one team the leg up on the other. And obviously, Alexander Ovechkin looking to break the goal record this season, as it kind of comes down to the wire here. And then you move to Friday, where the Jets play the Devils. They've had some low moments lately, and they're a team that's in a playoff spot, but the Jets should be able, I mean, this is like a week away now, so they can maybe turn it around with a few good games, but definitely a team that the Jets should be able to impose their will on. And then their final game of the homestand is against Vancouver, who they just lost to 6-2 on the road and looking for revenge. And the Jets will be wearing their beautiful heritage blue jerseys for all four of these games, which just makes it that much better. But this homestand, gives them the opportunity to do that. And it also gives them the opportunity, Lyss, to bounce back on the power play a little bit. Are you seeing, are they not generating enough? Is it puck luck? Like, where are you at? I still see a good entry on the power play. I don't know if you agree with that. They're still getting into the zone very efficiently. Once they get into the zone, maybe there's a little too much passing. They are still generating. Like, I do think they are still getting good chances. But they definitely do need to start getting some of these clutch goals. Like, you have a power play with 2.5 minutes remaining against Edmonton. That's got to be one where in a playoff game, you have the best power play. That's supposed to be an advantage. If a team takes a penalty on you with 2.5 minutes left, that game's got to be over. Like, you gotta put that game away. So what are you seeing with that power play? Are they generating enough and it's maybe just puck luck, or do you think they could be generating more? What do you think's going wrong there?
When it comes to the power play, I think when I think about people watching hockey, and everyone always thinks they're the expert and stuff like that, but I think your gut matters a lot when watching a power play. When you're watching a power play, you are going to notice what's not going well. Like, when they're not entering the zone well, you're gonna notice. When they're overpassing, when they're not getting shots, you're gonna notice. And I think regardless of how informed of a hockey fan you are or whatever, like, watching the power play, and you may not know exactly what set plays they're going to try and run or anything like that, but you are aware of what is going wrong when things
Right.
are going wrong. And so I think everyone in the chat would probably agree with you that, yeah, like the entry's like, okay, because what we're getting frustrated about right now is oh my gosh, why was that the shot that you chose to take? Oh my gosh, why was that the pass you chose to make? Not, holy smokes, why is the puck behind Connor Hellebuyck for the 4th time in 2 minutes, right? So I think that's a good thing, because you have a little bit more to work with in terms of improvement, because you have the puck in the ozone, which is the number one thing that you need to do, right?
Right.
I would agree with you that I think it's a little bit more on the passing. And I think especially when the season was first starting, the guys were starting to learn kind of what roles they were supposed to take, when they should be transitioning, when they should go from the 1-3-1 up to the 2-3, like when they should be doing those sorts of different things, whatever. And almost having fun with it, if that makes sense. Like, I think it was a little bit more of the like, what's available here. And now I think because that power play is so good, there is a deliberate attempt to go out and say, okay, this is the set play. You could tell when the pass is going, like where the intention is, whether it's the up, down, up kind of thing, or whether it's the Mark Scheifele across pass, even when that lane's a little bit clogged up, it's a little bit more predictable. And I don't know if that's because we've been watching the same power play for so many different attempts over the course of the season. I don't know. Or if it's because, like anything, once you kind of learn the ropes and build your foundation up a little bit, then you start trying to work on higher quality execution and stuff like that. I don't know. This is a little bit of a rant to say I'm really not sure, but I do think that they need to get back to a little bit more of that kind of fun fluidity, if that makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure if that's exactly kind of the ticket, but I do believe at this point that, yeah, 16% since the Four Nations is absolutely cause for concern, when this is a power play that, like you said, 2 minutes left in a game that you need to win, and 2 of the main penalty killers and Matthias Ekholm and Darnell Nurse are the guys in the box. Like, come on, that's got to be a free goal. It has to be a free goal, and it wasn't even close to a free goal from the Jets. And like all these things. No Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid power kill. A goalie
up
who's
a 2-on-1.
2 shots in the game. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, it
with
was
a minute left, Connor Hellebuyck had to make a huge blocker save with a minute left.
A lot
on the power
to dislike
play
about that, for sure, in that
it
particular
also
moment. And yeah,
I agree with everything you're saying, and I also think it would really help the cause for concern if they weren't so passive and almost like worse with a 5-on-3. Like, they've now had 3 5-on-3s for like extended periods of time. The Edmonton game, the Nashville game, and the Ottawa game, all within the last month here, where they just like don't generate anything on the 5-on-3. And look, clearly on the 5-on-3, they're trying to get Kyle Connor coming downhill with speed, because these teams are, running a bit of a triangle and just kind of hoping. So they have Mark Scheifele in his usual spot. Then they get Kyle Connor coming down the same side as Mark Scheifele to try and like just go right through that triangle. And it just doesn't really work. Then they're just curling back. No one really wants to shoot on the 5-on-3. When I personally think they should really just be firing the puck and trying to create chaos. But that is what it is, right? And we've seen this 5-on-4 power play be so dominant all year long. And now it's kind of slowing down a little bit more. I will say as well, the second unit seems to be getting less and less time as this slump kind of moves on. Like, I'm not seeing the second unit as much. I'm seeing them come over the boards with maybe 20 seconds left in the power play as opposed to 50 or 60. I would like to see a little bit more of the second unit right now. I feel like they could generate a little bit more. Now, I know Nino Niederreiter's been struggling and he's on that unit, but with the way Cole Perfetti's playing, I would not mind seeing more of that second unit right now. Not to say, I mean, like, the home game against Buffalo should be the perfect time to like get right on the power play, and get right defending off the rush and all of these things that maybe we're concerned about here, with a big game coming up Tuesday that'll expose those issues if you don't clean them up. So I don't know. I agree with what you're saying about the technical stuff of the power play. The 5-on-3, I don't know if they need to change the structure a little bit or something, because the 5-on-3 power play doesn't work, or it hasn't worked so far. And I would like to see a little bit more of the second unit. Just want to bring up this very nice comment from Tico J. Hey, all, watching from Alberta. It's a thing of beauty when WST Sunday Live is on duty. Thanks all for your hard work. We appreciate everything you do for all us Jets fans. Thank you so much for tuning in from Alberta. Really appreciate it. And thank you everyone in chat who has joined us here on Sunday morning game day edition at 9 a.m. Lyss, I want to have the Connor Hellebuyck discussion because
Oh boy.
the past 2 games, now I'm not going to pick him for trending down. I saw some people saying that in chat earlier. He's not going to be trending down like he was when the Jets like won 8 straight and he, let in 4 goals once. Anyways, Connor Hellebuyck, he lets in the 5 goals on 20 or so shots against Vancouver. Lets in a few goals. One was challenged for goalie interference that I personally did not think was goalie interference against Edmonton. Things like that. I'm not here to say there's any concern with Connor Hellebuyck's play, but the discussion I want to have is the rest versus rhythm discussion that we always seem to be having at this time of year. Do you think there should be more of an emphasis on resting Connor Hellebuyck down the stretch here than there maybe has been in years past? And if you're in the chat, let us know as well, because in the past they've just kind of rolled with it. As long as they're in a playoff spot, Connor Hellebuyck gets his 3 games, then Eric Comrie gets 1, or Lauren Brossoit gets 1, and then Connor Hellebuyck gets his 3 games, whatever the case might be. So do you think they should maybe emphasize it a little bit more, like a game like today, maybe start Eric Comrie and give Connor Hellebuyck a full 5 days off between games down the stretch here?
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, and we've had that exact conversation many a time this year. But I think another way to look at it is this is a team that would like to make the playoffs for the rest of Connor Hellebuyck's 8-year deal, right? This is a team that does not want to go through a rebuild. This is a team that, would like to be competitive, and just get in is definitely a mantra that I think we could probably apply to the Winnipeg Jets hockey club, right? This is not a just get in year for the Winnipeg Jets. This is a year where you have to understand that you may be playing 40% of a regular season still. There still could be 28 games left to play for Connor Hellebuyck, right? That's a lot of hockey to have to play over the course of the next little bit. And if you want to make a run, I think that's a consideration that needs to be made, right? Like, this isn't just you keep kicking the can down the road because you'll play a couple playoff games, whatever. This is not another year where the Winnipeg Jets want to play 5 playoff games. I know they didn't want to last year either, but that's what happened. This is a year where I think you need to consider that a little bit more heavily. And it's not a Connor Hellebuyck thing. It's a human thing and an exhaustion thing and a wear and tear on the body thing. I think it needs to be a heavier consideration. I think that if he's not willing to kind of understand, that makes it sound like he's dumb. He's not, but I think, someone else might need to make that decision for him and kind of impose a little bit of will there and be like, sorry, buddy, this is the way it's going to be. And I think that is, that's where I would go personally.
Yeah. The understanding we're all under with Connor Hellebuyck's starts is that he's making the decisions. He wants to play 60, 65 games a year, and he's good at doing so. We've talked at length about, he should win the Vezina. He should maybe even win the Hart. He should be up there. Like, it's clear that he's taken on a massive workload this year, and it hasn't affected him, at least maybe if you want to say these last 2 games. But I wouldn't really say it's fatigue these last 2 games. I just think it's, maybe he's having a rough 2 games and maybe Connor Hellebuyck's human. Maybe that's where we can go with that. But I also think it's worth noting once again, or at least in my opinion, the Jets fell apart in front of Connor Hellebuyck last year. It was not him that fell apart in the playoffs. Yes, could he have made more saves? Absolutely. But the Colorado Avalanche were in the Jets zone, peppering him with shots all game long, all 5 games. And I don't think that was really on him. So I feel like this conversation also gives weight to the Connor Hellebuyck can't win the big game, Connor Hellebuyck can't perform in the playoffs thing, which I don't agree with. Funny enough, okay, so when they traded for Brandon Tanev, this is a random side story. When they traded for Brandon Tanev, I remember him scoring in the Nashville series. So I went back and watched the highlights of the Nashville series because why not just take any excuse to rewatch the Nashville series, right? I went back and watched game 1. That game 1, the shots on goal were like 22-48 in Nashville's favor, and the Jets won 3-1. And it was like, that was a playoff game on the road. Connor Hellebuyck made 47 saves and only let in 1 goal. And I was like, that's ridiculous. And then you watch the COVID season where he swept the Oilers. Like, the Oilers pretty much dominated the Jets in all 4 of those games. And Connor Hellebuyck just stood on his head. So I don't know. I'm on team rest Connor Hellebuyck as well, but just wanted to make that clear that I don't think, the playoffs he was tired last year and the playoffs were on him or anything like that. But I do think there should be more of an emphasis on resting him down the stretch. And this schedule here kind of gives the Jets the ability to do so because they have 2 days off before this game today, obviously. Then they only get 1 game off and they play Washington, but then they have another 2 days off and play New Jersey, all of which are at home. So you have a chance, if you want to just play Connor Hellebuyck on Tuesday, to really rest him from Thursday to the following Friday. Maybe you can give Eric Comrie the road game against the New Jersey Devils as well. And then you could play Hellebuyck on Sunday against the Vancouver Canucks if you really are emphasizing this, right? If you're not, Connor Hellebuyck's going to play today. He's going to play tomorrow. He's going to play Friday. And then Comrie will be back in on Sunday or whatever, like that's going to be the schedule. But I do think also Darth Skater brings up here, he also played 4 Nations. Like we have to tack on a few extra starts to his total this year. So this is a year where getting the 1 seed is very, very important. The Winnipeg Jets have, last I checked, a 9-point gap, 10-point gap on, or maybe it's 8 now. This is a good transition actually into the wild card races in the West. But the Winnipeg Jets have a 8-point gap on the Dallas Stars. Dallas has 1 less game played, and obviously the Jets are going to play today. This is an opportunity to rest Connor Hellebuyck and see where that takes you. One of the adjustments that you haven't made year after year is resting Connor Hellebuyck down the stretch. And this could be a year where maybe it could be a benefit and he could be his usual self in that first round with a good defensive structure in front of him. So I don't know. That's my take on it. If you have anything else on Connor Hellebuyck, feel free to chime in, but I do want to move on to the second wild card race in the West because we saw Vancouver last week, and I think it freaked out a lot of people on like, who would you rather play, Vancouver or Calgary or St. Louis and anything like that. I still would rather play Vancouver than, say, a St. Louis, given how these teams are playing. I know maybe last week I made the argument for Calgary. I think I've flipped on that. I think the Jets would dominate play against Calgary. You guys convinced me. But right now, St. Louis has 79 points. They're in the second wild card. They're up 2 games on Calgary, who has 77. Vancouver has 76 points with 70 games played, and then Utah has 75 points with 70 games played. Last week, we ranked which team we would most rather play in the first round list. Has anything changed for you over the past week?
I think where I fall on all of this is that the Vancouver game did not change my opinion, nor should it change anybody's. Really, watch some Vancouver Canucks hockey and get back to me on what you think about that.
Did you see the game they lost yesterday against the Rangers?
Oh my God, nightmare
that
fuel.
Was the most lopsided
one
game
shot
I've ever seen
in the first period for the Rangers. Oh my gosh, they're nuts. No,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that to try and be cheeky or whatever, but I think the difference between a team like the St. Louis Blues and the Vancouver Canucks is that St. Louis right now firing on all cylinders. Like the St. Louis Blues cannot play better hockey with the group that they have than they are right now. What scares me about someone like the Vancouver Canucks is that they are playing this horrible of hockey in spite of talent in their lineup. This is a team that has the potential to kind of take it to another level, and they're just not there right now. Elias Pettersson could go God mode. We know what Quinn Hughes can do. Brock Besser is like a sleeper Steven Stamkos from the Circle, like unbelievable sniper, right? Like they have guys who have been okay lately that could be a lot better. Whereas the St. Louis Blues, what you see is what you're getting right now, and I don't foresee them getting any better. The Vancouver Canucks, I don't really see them getting better because they've had a rough season, but they could, right? And I think playing a little bit of Rick Tocchet offense and, dumping a ton of pucks into the corners and forcing the defense to go kind of chase after you, like there's a lot of room to expose the Winnipeg Jets if they start playing a little bit better. So I'm still not super convinced that I'd love to play against the Vancouver Canucks if I'm the Winnipeg Jets.
Mm-hmm.
But again, same thing. I'll end this part of my opinion. It's still wild card 2. All of these teams are still. I'm not losing sleep over the Utah Hockey Club or the Calgary Flames. Like, come on, like it's. If the Winnipeg Jets lose in the first round to the wild card 2 team because that's who they end up playing, it's going to be because they lost the series, not because that other team won the series. And I can tell you that for free.
Yep, 100%. Got to give a quick shout out to Carter Chan, just popped into the chat. Nice seeing him. He said, "Who's going to the game? I'll be there." Drop it in the chat below. I will say St. Louis, since the 4 Nations break, because that's, every team came back at the same time. It's been a month. They're 10-2-2 with a plus 21 goal differential, and their power plays clicking at above 30%. So, and the back half of that schedule, I think the last 2 weeks or so, they haven't even had their top right-handed defenseman in Colton Parayko. So they're definitely playing great. Jim Montgomery has completely revamped their roster. They're getting the most out of players like Dylan Holloway and Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou, and Jake Neighbors is playing in their top 6. And they traded for Cam Fowler earlier in the year for a partner with Colton Parayko, and that maybe pairing has given them a new dynamic on the blue line. And then there's Jordan Binnington, who, you know, everyone describes him now after the Four Nations win as like a big game goalie. And sure, I have time for that. But he's still a goalie that's like flirting with a 900 save percentage. So I don't know how confident I would be as a Blues fan going into that first round with Jordan Binnington as my goalie. But again, though, that would be a narrative battle because Jordan Binnington is a big game goalie and Connor Hellebuyck apparently can't win the big game. So that would be an interesting narrative going into that one. But I will say St. Louis, there's a pretty big gap right now between the teams I'd want to play in the second wild card between St. Louis and everyone else. I think St. Louis is a step above those teams. Quinn Hughes still scares me in Vancouver, but I have to agree with you that no matter who it is, the Winnipeg Jets should be able to win the series, if not in 4 or 5 games, right? Like the Winnipeg Jets are a really good hockey team. They've won 2 of their last 1 games, and we're here talking about, we're concerned about Hellebuyck's rest and the power play. But again, they're still a very, very good hockey team. And that win against the Dallas Stars, I think a week and a bit ago still proves that. Yeah, what's up?
I know this shouldn't matter all that much, but I just I have the standings pulled up because I was like, I'll just get that in the corner just in case. Like Minnesota is in wildcard 1 pretty safely, and they have a -1 goal differential.
Yeah.
Wasn't the Washington Capitals getting into the playoffs last year like the first team to get in with a negative goal differential in like however long? And like for context, the Winnipeg Jets are at 78. They're at a positive 78 goal differential. Like this is a team that, oh my gosh, like these wild cards are, I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about them.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I could totally see maybe not a 6-point gap with 12 points left. Probably not. I was gonna say like maybe 2 weeks ago, if you had asked me, I would have said I could see Minnesota sliding all the way because they're just so hurt. They're so banged up. They haven't played well.
They are.
Remember the first?
They're very much the New Jersey Devils of the West. Like
yes. Remember the first like 3 months of the year when it was like Winnipeg, Washington, and Minnesota, and now Winnipeg, Washington is up there, and Minnesota's really fallen off. So, that's tough for sure. Just quickly in the East, I know this is Winnipeg Jets show and everything, but the Ottawa Senators are in the first wildcard spot with 79 points. The Montreal Canadiens are in the second wildcard spot with 75 points. The New York Rangers have played 2 more games than both of those teams, and they're 1 point out at 74 points. And then there's just a smattering of teams like the Islanders, the Blue Jackets, the Red Wings, the Bruins, the Penguins, who are all just kind of there. And like if one team won like 6 in a row, they would just be in. But are you more or less excited, or is this like a nothing burger if like every Canadian team made the playoffs except for one? Does that excite you more about the playoffs? Yeah, it does for me.
It does. Not in terms of like more like it's fun because I do get a little bit defensive when folks are like, well, this team could never be good because of like tax implications, weather implications, whatever you want to call it, and stuff like that. Like I do have that level of Canadian pride. That said, born and raised Canadian born hockey fan, like I hate a lot of those teams. I don't really wish them success. I don't wish their fan base's success. I don't wish their players success, but there is some fun in that for sure. 7 for 16. That'd be pretty fun if that could happen. But also just because kind of like the Ottawa Senators, that's a team that I think a lot of people would like to see eventually do well just because of how painful the last little stretch has been for them. The Montreal Canadiens are such a fun Cinderella story right now and stuff like that.
Yeah. My
hope and where I'm at is, oh my gosh, I would do anything for Tampa to go on a slide right now and for Ottawa to bump up into the third in the Atlantic there and play against the Maple Leafs in the first round. I would do anything for that matchup. That would be so much fun.
Or Toronto takes first in the division and plays Ottawa. That's also an option. As the wild card team.
That's much more likely.
Then you get the Battle of Florida, Tampa Bay in the first round.
Yeah, that would totally work because I was like, I wasn't thinking, but yeah, of course, because Washington's got first in the East locked up, so it would be wild card 1 regardless. Yeah, well, whatever it takes, that's what I want. Yeah. there is some fun in that for sure. The Calgary Flames don't excite me, to be honest with you. I could take or leave
me
them
too.
being in the playoffs, but just saying that you could go 7-for-7 would be super cool. I agree with that.
Mhm.
But yeah, a lot of the Canadian teams that are kind of involved this year, especially the 5 that I think are a little bit more secured to make it lots of fun. So I'm really looking forward to these playoffs. I know we can't count our chickens before they hatch, but holy smoke, some of these matchups as they look right now. Maybe we can get into that.
Yes, we do. We do want to talk. We do want to talk.
That?
Yeah, we do want to talk about that for sure. I will just say on the East, having Montreal in the playoffs would be so awesome for a lot of reasons. But as someone who would be passively watching those games as just a hockey fan, the atmosphere in the Bell Center for Canada USA on the Saturday night will be the atmosphere for a Montreal playoff game, and like those are just incredible atmospheres to watch on TV. Last night they had a crazy comeback against the Colorado Avalanche, and through the TV you could tell like that place, like the roof blew off that place when Christian Dvorak tied the game 4-4. So I don't know. I'd love to see,
dude. Like what a team. What a team.
What a team.
Whatever.
And like the Canadian crowds are the best crowds in my opinion. So like Ottawa would be insane as well, especially in a series against Toronto, like the Battle of Ontario, like that would be really, really awesome. So I'm really hoping that both those teams hold on to those wild card spots there in the East, and I'm sure Sportsnet is hoping that as well. Anyways, we do want to talk about the playoff format because there were the NHL GM meetings this week in Florida, and this was one of the things that they did not discuss. Gary Bettman was asked about it. There's a lot of talk about it online, but Gary Bettman was asked if there was any thought of changing the playoff format where the number 1 seed plays the wild card, then the 2 and 3 teams in the same division play each other in the first round. Jets were maybe a victim of that last year when they played Colorado. But Gary Bettman said that there's no thought of changing the playoff format. They like where it's at. He used his classic line that like everyone likes where it's at. Like he said that about the board ads too. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you have really a pulse on like what everyone likes, but sure. But anyways, where are you at with the playoff format, Lyss? Do you think it needs a change? Do you think it's good how it is? If you would change it, what would you change it to? Where are you at with the playoff format?
I would not change it. I love the playoff format. And this is actually something a couple weeks ago, I made a video on TikTok, of some of my like wackiest NHL hot takes that I know they're unpopular. And my understanding is that folks who dislike this current playoff format want to go back to 1v8. Is that correct? Is that where we're at? Is that what people
That's where
like?
I'm at. That's where I'm at.
See, I think that sports die if they don't have good rivalries. Rivalries are so important to the fabric of sports coverage, sports fandom, good quality sports games. I am such a fan of rivalries. I think rivalries are super important. We are about to enter the 4th consecutive season of Edmonton LA first round matchup. Inject that into my veins, dude. I love that. I love the hatred that builds up between teams. I think it's awesome that you have to get through the same teams. I think it's awesome that you have to see the same opponents, and we see like rivalry hockey. It's literally just the rivalry point that I like. I understand the 1v8, and I know that's how it used to be. It is what it is, but I really like that your division actually matters in this format. And it's not just some random geographical border that some dude drew with a crayon on a map. Like it actually is relevant and important. And I have been so much more locked in on games versus Dallas and games versus Colorado and stuff like that since the playoff format changed. Like I really, 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 really like it.
I don't know. I don't. I am not fired up at all for Edmonton versus LA part 4. I'm just not. We've seen this. Edmonton's going to win in game 7. Like, it's just, I don't know if you're an LA fan, like, yeah, you hate Edmonton, but if you're an Edmonton fan, like, do you hate LA? No. Is that a rivalry? If you don't like, do Edmonton fans hate LA? I don't think so.
I don't listen to what Edmonton Oilers fans say. So
I know, but why would they hate them?
Okay, then Toronto, Tampa.
Toronto loses to whoever they play anyways.
They hate each other. They hate each other. You don't know how that series is going to go. But no, dude, the fans do too, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, okay, my issue with it is the common issue with it, which is that you have these matchups like Dallas, Colorado this year, where it's 2 of the top 4, 2 of the top 3 teams in the conference are going to play each other in the first round because of the format. And I think better teams going deeper in the playoffs would be better for it. So in the 1v8 format right now, Winnipeg would still play St. Louis. Dallas is the 2 seed. They would then play Minnesota. Vegas would play LA, and Colorado would play Edmonton. Now, Colorado and Edmonton played in the Western Conference Finals the year that Colorado won the Cup, I believe. They played in the Western Conference Finals. Colorado swept them. I don't know. Like, I think Vegas, LA, they're in the same division. Colorado, Edmonton could be like a manufactured rivalry. Like you have McKinnon versus McDavid. And if those teams met year after year, like that would be one of the, like, I just don't know if you can make rivalries or like force rivalries, you know?
Okay, what's the point of a division then, though? Because do I have to lock in to the same extent with 15 other teams at the beginning of the season? Like, like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's just conferences then. And if you want to abolish the divisions, whatever, I don't care. But like, you play the teams in your division more times over the course of the year and the season to, like, you know, there's more insular content in games and whatever going on, and then you have to duke it out with one of them in the playoffs, and there's huge incentive to win first in your division so that you don't have to deal with this whole situation of this Colorado Dallas thing. Like, I think it's great.
I'm cool with that argument, is like divisions then matter more. I guess then my take is like I don't really care about divisions. Like the Jets are playing St. Louis in the first round, and then if they win, they would play, if Colorado beat Edmonton, they would play Colorado. And that's another central team. And then maybe they'd play Dallas. And it's like, maybe then it would add more to a central division matchup in the playoffs if you met a central division team. Like if the Jets, if they were 1v8 this year and the Jets played the Avs in the second round, which might end up happening anyways, I think is, I guess, a good point for you. That would add to it because it's a central division matchup. And it's like, oh, these teams are in the same division. They played each other more often than Winnipeg played LA this year, whatever the case might be. I just think, I think that rivalries can be created naturally. I think that seeing Edmonton and LA for the fourth time in 4 years doesn't excite me, as opposed to it does excite me.
Call me when LA beats them this year, and we'll see what happens.
They won't, though. They won't. And then it's just like, oh, we just wasted our time again with Edmonton beating LA. Like, I don't know. If the Jets were in LA's shoes, I would be livid. Like I would be, if they played
it's very
Colorado
low, bro.
It's
very
year,
low, bro. Like owned to the max for sure.
Like I don't know.
As you should be though. Like they have your number for sure.
And maybe this is a bit of Central Division, you know, thinking as well, because the Central Division is the best division in hockey, at least at the top, with Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado. Yeah. So, you know, maybe that then adds to the 1 seed, and that adds to the importance of getting 1 seed in your division. So maybe I'm coming around a little bit on this, but I don't know. I really do think that the 1v8 format created rivalries naturally, and it made it so that the better teams stay later in the playoffs, which I think is what we all want to see. And I don't know. Having one of Dallas or Colorado out in the first round this year really does benefit the Jets. So maybe we should just leave it for 1 more year. But it doesn't look like it's
they can rock a 1v8 in the East. We'll leave it how it is in the West. Thanks. Everybody.
Exactly. But they're not changing it anytime soon. So it's just, you know, a fun conversation to have nonetheless. I see some people in chat asking for it. Let's get to it. This is Trending Up or Trending Down, a segment where we choose players who are trending up or down for the Winnipeg Jets over the past week of play. The rules are simple. We will each pick one player who we thought has trended up or down over the past week, and we can't choose someone who has already said or was said last week. Here's who we said last week. For trending up, we had Luke Schenn, Morgan Barron, Kyle Connor. For trending down, we had Gabe Vilardi, Nikolai Ehlers, and Mason Appleton. So those players are off the board for us. If you have joined us here live on a Sunday morning, we really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button down below and drop your picks in the comments for trending up or trending down. Lyss, do you want to go first with this one? Trending up?
Sure. I'll go first, and I'm going to give my trending up pick of the week to, if you listen to this whole show, it should come as no surprise, Josh Morrissey. A lot of the bigger guys in this team haven't had a good stretch for the last couple weeks. If you want to talk about what the essence of trending up, trending down is, some of the guys who need to play big haven't been playing big consistently. Josh Morrissey does not fall into that category. He has been excellent for the last little bit. And we know what this player can do and how he can take control of games. I think he's been super, super awesome. A really good guy that manages, the argument that Connor and I keep finding ourselves in, not on opposite sides. We just keep talking about it. Big moments versus large samples over the course of a game.
Right.
He plays really well and puts up really good results. And then yet he'll also come out and make those massive, spinorama passes to try and get some big goals, the big times, crazy shots, all that good stuff. Josh Morrissey's been Josh Morrissey for the last couple of weeks, and you'll love to see it.
Yep, I agree. Josh Morrissey. I always base my Josh Morrissey takes off of how often I see him taking over games, because we know Josh Morrissey's good, and on random Sunday games against the Buffalo Sabres, he's going to be like the best player on the ice. We've just grown to know this. But when he takes over games, like even that Sharks game earlier in the year where he played like 8 of the final 12 minutes and just dominated, that's him taking over a game. And that game against Edmonton, I think, would fall in that category. Like every time he was on the ice, he was locking down the Oilers. He jumped up, got the goal. So I'm with you on Josh Morrissey. I will agree there. Let me get my list up here. I did want to go with Dylan Samberg, but I'm going to save it because
he had a bad game on Tuesday.
Yeah, he did. That was great timing, because I released an article on Wednesday on my thoughts.
Connor, we're 45 minutes into the show and you haven't told us yet what the Winnipeg Jets record with Dylan Samberg in the lineup is. I feel a little bit upset.
37-9-2, folks.
Thank you.
Jets are an incredible team with Dylan Samberg in the lineup.
I really like that you had that on lock, so thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I have it right here. Like I said, I got it tattooed on my arm. I'm just getting it updated every week. But the Dylan Samberg thing, like I released the article on Wednesday on my thoughts that I'm still standing by. 2 rough games.
Of course. Oh my God. Yeah.
But he's the next like cornerstone elite defenseman for this franchise. And if they lock him up 8 years, they're going to be so happy doing so, because you can see the offense flashes. You can see it like slowly coming along. And if they sign him to like an 8-year deal worth $6 million per, maybe next year or the year after that, it's going to be like Josh Morrissey all over again. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Josh Morrissey, but you add a little bit of offense there. Oh my goodness. You have an elite number 1 defenseman on your hands. So maybe I'll just say Dylan Samberg trending up then. I wanted to then say Cole Perfetti, but I'll just make the argument for Dylan Samberg. He had the goal against the Kraken in overtime. Yes, he had a rough game on Tuesday, but he's still a really good penalty killer. The penalty kill is slowly coming around as of late. And I think last week with the OT winner and then the goal against the Stars, I think he's really this franchise's next cornerstone elite defenseman. So I'm going to go with Dylan Samberg. I wanted to say Cole Perfetti there, and a lot of people in chat are saying it. So I'll give the props to the chat. We'll leave Perfetti off this week, but I will just note that he is having a great week. He got the goal against the Oilers. And like we've said many times, Lyss, with Cole Perfetti, I feel like he's doing more than just scoring, just generating offense. He's diving into the corners. He's winning puck battles, and not winning puck battles by crunching a guy, but winning puck battles by lifting a stick and stepping out and making a play with a pass. And he's been defensively responsible for like the past couple of weeks now, past couple of months. That's nothing new. But along the wall, I think he's really, really improved. So
not to derail, but easily a top 3 player on the team that if you ever had the flexibility and interest in watching a game and just locking in on one player, he's a guy to watch. So fun. So much fun. I've been a Cole Perfetti truther since day 1 though. So like I can't. I have my biases, but I'm rooting for that guy. And man, oh man, good stretch. He gets Jacob's honorary trending up for this week.
Yes, we'll give it to Jacob. Jacob said trending up Cole Perfetti. He actually just texted me. No, I'm kidding. But still, yeah, Jacob said Cole Perfetti, everyone. Now for down, Jacob said Connor Hellebuyck. He just texted me. So everyone can kidding, joking. I do see people in chat saying, I'm not going to say Connor Hellebuyck this week. Lyss, you can take him if you want. But I do see like good chunk of people in chat saying trending down Connor Hellebuyck. I'm not going to say it though. I'll go first. I'm going to say Mark Scheifele, goalless in 7 straight. The top line had a great game against Dallas last week now, but I thought these past 3 games, I think honestly, the Vancouver game was maybe their best and they just didn't get the results in that one. Mark Scheifele, I guess, made the drop pass to Kyle Connor in overtime. But yeah, I'm going to go Mark Scheifele. He hasn't scored in 7 straight games. And that is not something we see from him very often. And that line, I feel like, is giving up a lot in their own zone right now. I outlined that last week as well. And it hasn't really changed. So I'm going to go with Mark Scheifele trending down. Lyss, who do you have for trending down, and why is it Connor Hellebuyck?
I am going to choose Hayden Fleury for trending down for this week.
Nice.
Oof.
He was on my list as well.
That bottom pairing left-handed defenseman spot is just, I got questions across the board because what does the solution look like long term? Does it look like someone playing on their offhand? Does it look like Hayden Fleury getting more minutes? Does it look like Logan Stanley coming back in? I don't know. And
don't know.
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know but Hayden Fleury, I think, in Neil Pionk's absence and in these consecutive games of Logan Stanley getting scratched for him, had an opportunity to kind of come up big. And I've been intrigued by what I've seen from him in a couple of different areas. There's been a little bit more offensive activation from him for sure, which is a good thing because that is the type of player that Hayden Fleury is. But all in all, oh my gosh, that pairing of him and Colin Miller is not giving me a lot of confidence right now. So I'm going to give my trending down to Hayden Fleury.
My list had Hayden Fleury on it as well, and the reasoning was I think the anti-Logan Stanley sentiment from fans is wearing off a little bit. There was the immediate, everyone wanted Logan Stanley out of the lineup. Okay, they took him out, so this is amazing. Now the last couple games, people are like, oh wait, this is still maybe a problem here on this third pair. Look, I think Hayden Fleury played well at the first part of the year when he was on that third pair with Colin Miller. It maybe hasn't translated to this time of the year. But I agree with you there. I think Hayden Fleury trending down. I think they need more from him on that third pairing. I will say also an interesting thing to note, Scott O'Neill is shortening the bench in third periods in close games here. Josh Morrissey is playing a lot more. Luke Shen is taking some shifts with Josh Morrissey. Dylan Sandberg's out there, of course, with Luke Shen or Dylan DeMello or whoever the case might be. And Colin Miller's also in there as well. I do think that when we get to the playoffs, this third pair left D is maybe going to play 8.5 minutes a game. Nothing. They're Hayden Fleury, Logan Stanley, whoever it is, I don't think they're going to be playing much at all. I think Josh Morrissey's going to play north of 27, 28 minutes a night. Dylan Sandberg's going to be out there the other 22, 23 with Neil Pionk. I don't know. I think this third pair left D is not going to play as much. Do you agree? They're going to do all they can to hide it in the playoffs?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just that's a lot to ask of your top guys and of Josh. And I guess Shen getting up there, I worry about someone like Dylan DeMello having to play that much. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I agree with you though, because definitely any type of history has indicated in this recent bit that, Hayden Fleury is not going to play 18 minutes a night in the playoffs. So I guess there is maybe a little bit of space for some solace in that for Jets fans if you're a bit worried about what you've seen. But I don't know. I guess only time will tell.
Yeah, Pionk will be back for the playoffs, and it's not going to be any different from what they're doing right now. Josh Morrissey's still going to double shift with Dylan DeMello or Luke Shen, and then Dylan Sandberg and Neil Pionk will just stay together. It's not going to change really anything with in terms of the third pair lefty.
And I actually don't mind that in terms of getting that Sandberg Pionk pairing out there. It's a good utility pairing, whatever, and then easing off Dylan DeMello's workload a little bit for some tighter D zone shifts. I don't mind that. I can live with that for sure, especially if Josh is going to keep playing the way that he is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all situational, of course. I don't know. I just have this feeling that Josh Morrissey is going to play north of 26, 27 minutes a night in the playoffs. I think
1As do that. 1As do that. So I guess,
yeah. Cale Makar plays 30 in the playoffs, right? If you want to talk about the elite of the elite, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, those guys play a lot. So I think Josh Morrissey is going to do the same.
Heiskanen's going to come back from his, with his all on these T4s, and he's just going to go out there rock 30 minutes a night because I don't know what's going on with that team's defense.
Yeah. Well, Drew Doughty came back from a absence that spanned the whole season, and then his first night back played 28 minutes, and it's okay, well, that's what
a king. What a king.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, Drew. Drew.
Drew. Well, that was trending up, trending down. Thank you everyone for taking part. I will remember everyone in chat saying trending down Connor Hellebuyck, because you guys never let me forget it when I chose it, because that was a problem when I chose it. But no, it's not right now, which again, I'll admit, Connor Hellebuyck hasn't had his best 2 games the last 2. He got lit up against the Canucks. The Oilers game was dicey as well. He is at near the bottom of list for my concerns with this team for sure. But that was trending up, trending down. Thank you everyone for taking part. While you're down there, make sure you hit the like button. We really appreciate it. It helps YouTube know we are putting out some great content as well. Before we get to the burning questions list, and maybe if you're here with us in chat, drop your burning question now and we'll get to it after I ask Lyss this question. But this is, game day, Jets versus Sabres preview. What are you expecting from today's game? We've talked about maybe the importance of it to stay ahead of the Dallas Stars in that first seed in the Central. You need points like this at home against Buffalo. But what are you maybe expecting to see from the Jets, and what are you hoping to see from the Jets coming off the win Thursday?
I think the Jets know that they can't afford to put together strings of bad games here. And I think in the past 2 games, they get a passing grade of 0.5. I think, you end up winning against that Oilers team and, it is what it is kind of thing. But you get a big fat 0 out of 1 for that Vancouver game on Tuesday, and you don't get a full 100% flying colors passing grade on Thursday. They know they can't put together strings of bad games. So, we talked about the possibility for that Seattle game being a trap game. This one also falls into a similar category. I sure hope they put together a performance like they did against Seattle last Sunday, because I think they really need it right now. Buffalo is one of the hockey teams of all time. Like, I really like a lot of the guys on Buffalo. I kind of like their decor. Like, it's kind of fun. There's some things I like about it. But, let's be real. This is a bad hockey team. You look at that daily face-off line chart there, and, I like JJ Peterka a lot. I think that, Rasmus Dahlin is super fun to watch. And then you kind of get a little bit further down into that forward group, and you're like, okay. Ryan McLeod is their top-line center. Let's take a look at what the Winnipeg Jets have to do tonight, and this is win the hockey game. That's what they have to do. And I think, Buffalo, it's not like they have a ton to fight for right now. They're not battling for playoff odds. They're not pulling a Manitoba Moose right now, where it's well, technically, if we get 2 points for the rest of the season, we could still make it. Things are looking pretty rough there. So I'm not super optimistic that this is going to be a really heavy, hard-fought game from the Buffalo Sabres. But hey, I've been wrong before, so we'll see. But I think the Winnipeg Jets should take advantage of the Sunday afternoon home crowd and try and pot some big goals and get some momentum going for some big guys who need it right now.
For sure. And I think Corey May nails it here. He says,
I could have said exactly what Corey said in about 1% of the time. So thank you, Corey.
Hey, it works. It works. Corey May says, I expect a win, but we'll still be searching for a full 60-minute effort, which I have to agree on that one. And the Buffalo Sabres, I don't know if you saw it, Lyss. They scored on their own net the other night. And
I didn't see that, but I'm not surprised. If I had to pick one team who was going to do that, it would be them or the Columbus Blue Jackets for sure.
So there was a minute left in the game, and Utah took a penalty, and Buffalo's color commentator was screaming. The guy that took a puck to the face. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. Yeah.
He was screaming give them the puck, give them the puck. And Tage Thompson goes to pass it back to the point to Rasmus Dahlin, misses him, and it banks off the net and in, and Utah ends up winning the game. That went from 4-3 to 5-3 in that moment. So, Buffalo's just, we could go on and on about how down bad they are, and have been for the past decade plus. So anyways, let's get to one burning question. I already see some questions rolling in. We really appreciate it. Everyone who has joined us here live on YouTube, drop your question down below and we will attempt to rapid fire through these and get out of here, as everyone will be heading down to Canada Life Center this afternoon for a nice little Sunday matinee 2 p.m. game against the Buffalo Sabres. I saw a question here from Darth Skater that he asked earlier. Let me just scroll up and find it. I believe it was something about yes, I found it. Anything discussed in the GM's meetings that you thought was interesting beyond the non-discussion of playoff pairings? I have something. NHL expansion.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if this was formally discussed, but it was one of the storylines that came out of it. The NHL wants to eventually get to 36 teams, and they think they're going to get to 34 in the next couple of years. One of those teams is going to be Houston, they said. Maybe the other one's going to be Atlanta. But they found someone in Houston, some billionaire that is interested in owning an NHL franchise, and that's happening. So the big discussion around NHL expansion is, does it, kind of dilute the product, and, does it hurt the NHL product list? Do you buy into that line of thinking with NHL expansion? Or do you think this is ultimately a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like the dilution, like it's a bit chicken and egg to me, where it's like, okay, you get to those 36 teams, eventually, like the quality of players will increase and we'll get more. Like with there being more spots available for NHL players, there will be more NHL caliber players. Like I do think that they will manage it. It's more a question of, I don't know. I think about the concept of a casual fan or whatever, and the more teams you get to, like the harder it is. Like, for example, right now, if you want to become a baseball fan, you might be like, I'm not doing that because I'm not watching 160 games in a year kind of thing. Like someone's like, oh, I want to become a hockey fan. It's like 36 teams like that. I'm not going to know all these teams. I'm not going to, like, I just feel like it makes it feel a little bit less like intimate and personal, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how I feel about it. And like, with 36 teams, we're going to get to the point where you're only playing out of conference teams maybe once a year and some of them twice, like stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I just think it adds a little bit more separation between everybody. But I mean, at the end of the day, more revenue, more markets, all that sort of stuff, it is good. So I think I'm pretty take it or leave it. The only thing I think I'll just say to kind of wrap it up is that none of the major sports leagues in North America have more than 32 teams. So I don't really know why that's the angle, but yeah, I don't know. It's a very temperate take, which is unusual for me. I feel like I typically have very strong opinions on things. Something like this sounds like something I would have a strong opinion on. I don't.
Okay, interesting. I don't have a strong opinion on this either. I think it's ultimately a good thing for the reasons you mentioned. Like, it's more jobs for people in the industry, for hockey players themselves as well. And I think it's more revenue for the league, which I guess is a win for the league. I do think that there are already some really tough teams to watch and tune into on a nightly basis here in the NHL. And this is only going to add to that. There might, instead of, 4 or 5 unwatchable teams, there might be 6 or 7, which, whatever, it separates the top of the league from the bottom of the league. And maybe there's more parity this way and all of those things. But yeah, I get a big kind of like shrug for this, because I think there are pros and cons to it, but it seems like the NHL is doing it anyways.
Yeah, and like Blake's comment says, like, Dylan Coughlin would be an NHL regular on 30 NHL teams, right? Like, I get that.
Right, like,
but I don't know. I think you add 2 more current AHL level guys to full-time NHL rosters, making full-time NHL salaries, getting full-time NHL practice minutes. Like Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, if he had to be a full-time NHL regular, like I don't think that the league is worse for it,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Like,
okay.
This is
moving
where,
on.
This is where the discussion has gone. Is Axel Jonsson-Fjällby a regular NHLer? Next burning question. No, I'm kidding.
He is for the Atlanta. I was gonna say Falcons. That's a team already. Whatever. Besides the point.
The Atlanta Jets. No, they'll come back as the Thrashers. I hope. We'll see. I don't know, like Houston team names. I mean, we talk so much about Utah, but Houston can go so many different ways. Hockey Mom asks, does Pionk come back as strong? I would think so. I think this is more, he was trying to play through it those last couple games before they kind of ruled him out and put him on the sidelines. So I think this is more precautionary, being like, all right, we know that we're in a playoff spot. We need Neil Pionk healthy for the playoffs. Let's rest up and get things right heading into the playoffs. So I think Neil Pionk will come back healthy and strong and looking like himself and will make an impact on that team. Does Coughlin get playing time in the playoffs without any Jets injuries? I would say no. I think the addition of Luke Schenn kind of ruled that out. The right side's pretty set, at least from a Jets perspective. And if someone on the right side were to miss time, I think Colin Miller would be the first one in. And I know the question is without any Jets injuries. So I don't think that will happen, because Schenn, Pionk, and DeMello will stay on the right side. And I don't see them putting in Coughlin on the left side over a Fleury or a Stanley or anything like that. I'll throw this one to you, Lyss. Donnie Boy asks, what is Billy's future with the Jets? I feel like we have this question every Sunday.
What future with the Jets?
Yeah.
It's not existent at this time. This is a guy
right.
that will not barring any injuries throughout the rest of the season, and they'd have to go pretty deep on injuries. I do not foresee this player playing another game in a Winnipeg Jets jersey ever.
Ever. Whoa. Hot take. Okay. I mean, it's not a hot take. It's not.
He's not signed for next season, right?
I believe he is.
Oh,
I thought him and Stanley.
I should know this,
Miller,
but I don't. They all signed two?
Two. Yeah. And Shen is under contract next year as well.
Besides the point, they'll toss him around like some little, trade chip or whatnot this summer to patch up some of the holes that'll be left by UFAs and by some changes, by some injuries, by whatever.
Right.
I stand by it, even if he has an extra year. No.
Yeah. Yeah. CMAC here asks, is the different D pairings maybe messing up Connor Hellebuyck? He's used to his D pairings and maybe they aren't where they need to be. Do you think that this might have an impact, Lyss? Or do you think Connor Hellebuyck?
Great question, and I want to answer this in a week or two when I do a little bit more reading into Hockey Tactics 2025 by Jack Hahn, because I bought a book earlier this week that talks about this sort of thing, and the Winnipeg Jets, by my initial skimming of this book, and I will get back to you guys on some of the content because it's very interesting. They have some very, very set plays with Connor Hellebuyck breaking or starting the breakout. They do that deliberately. And so I would have said a few weeks ago, probably not, but I'm going to put a pin on that for now because perhaps.
Sure. Yeah. Getting some great comments in chat right now. Hi, Paul says, going to my first ever Jets game today. Love that. Frosty saying, I told the wife and kids I don't need to go to church. I've got Father Connor and Sister Lyss on YouTube.
My family's at church, so.
Yeah. Well,
apparently,
so are we.
This wasn't good enough for them, so.
Exactly. Does Canada get another team from Kittens 31? Quebec City? No. Nordiques? No?
36, maybe. But man, oh man, Quebec City, I don't see it. I'm going to say no. Okay.
I will also say no as well, if I had to guess. But I think with 36, it becomes a much larger discussion. So, C-Mac, you're saying Jack Hahn is awesome. Some great YouTube videos. Yeah, very informative. I'm looking forward to diving into that Hockey Tactics 2025 myself, picking it up and watching a game side by side with the book open. I remember doing that last year as well, where it's like see the plays on the diagram on the sheet, and it's like maybe it's a neutral zone forecheck. So you lock that in for a period and you say, okay, this is what the Jets are doing in their neutral zone forecheck. Here's everyone's responsibility, and then you can see where things break down. It's so much. It's like, in my opinion, the most fun way to watch a regular season hockey game is
Jack Hahn. I owe you my life
with their systems on a sheet. You're watching, and it's like, okay, that guy just got beat and it's his fault because this is why. And you can you can actually explain it. It's not just,
we're such
this guy
losers,
got beat.
Connor.
We are.
We're such losers.
Next WST deep dive. Us watching a hockey game with Jack Hahn, Hockey Tactics 2025.
You thought I was annoying with a spreadsheet before. Get ready for the play diagrams. F2 circle.
Yeah. This is your fault. Large circle. Yeah. Anyways, that is I am on his mailing list. I see C-Mac get on his mailing list. I am. Some great stuff as well. He drops some good mailing list in terms of like, if you're in a beer league, here's how you can improve your shot. And it's like, this is me. Thank you. Like, this is what I need. It's like, I need to take my beer league game to the next level. This is where I'm at. I'm in my prime. I'm 22. Everyone in chat seems to think it's my birthday. It's not. My birthday's in.
You had so many birthdays this year. It's crazy.
Oh, so many. But I'm in my prime. This is what I'm supposed to be hitting my prime as a hockey player. So, anyways, that is one burning question. Thank you everyone for submitting such great questions as always here on a Sunday morning. And Lyss, is there anything else you want to say on the way out of today's WST Sunday Live? Plug some upcoming work.
I think we covered a lot of it. I just want to say thank you. We have over 250 people live watching in the chat right now, which is super fun. So we thank you all for taking the time to join us this morning. We have so much fun. I text Connor and Jacob after every show. I'm like, I would do this for 0 people because I just love talking to you guys and we have such a good time. So it makes us very happy to know that other people have just as good of a time watching us talk as we do talking with one another. So we're having a good time. As far as, this upcoming week, a couple of really fun games at Canada Life Center coming up that Connor and I will be there for, which is going to be really fun. And the last 2 episodes of my podcast, season 1 here on Chal Chit Chat are dropping this week. So we'll be wrapping up the season with 2 more fun conversations, a little bit more in the category of the Jack Hahn-esque, not actually, but a little bit more tactical, talking a little bit about some scouting stuff, a little bit about some data. It's going to be super fun, super up my alley. So I had some really, really fun conversations that are going to be coming out on Monday and Friday of this week. So if you haven't checked out that podcast yet, please do. It's been such a fun project for me. And I can't believe it already wraps up at the end of this week, at the end of Women's History Month. So make sure you check that out.
Season 1 coming to an end so soon.
Yeah, end of an era.
End of an era. Look forward to season 2 as well. But season 1, still some episodes to go, like you said. So looking forward to that. That's going to do it for us, folks. WST Sunday Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you all for the great comments today. You guys were on fire outside of, thinking it was my birthday. You guys were great today in the chat. So enjoy the game. If you're heading down to Canada Life Center, enjoy the game. Little Sunday afternoon action against the Buffalo Sabres. Look for a full 60-minute effort from the Jets. And enjoy this homestand. They're going to be in their Heritage Blues, like I said, best jerseys in the league. And they're playing Washington on Tuesday. They're playing New Jersey on Friday, which is the final game of our Winnipeg Sports Talk Game of the Month ticket pack. So looking forward to seeing all you WSTers there at the rink on Friday night against the New Jersey Devils and Brendan Dillon. And then the Sunday, they take on the Vancouver Canucks. So we'll be right back here next Sunday with another game day edition against a team that the Jets just lost to 6-2 last week in Vancouver. Thank you everyone for joining us. We will catch you next Sunday on the next edition of WST Sunday Live. Enjoy the game today. Enjoy the game this week and have a great week, everyone. See ya.